Welcome to our new episode of CRE Unplugged. I'm Ryan Elazari, and joined by me is my co-host Nadine Ezzi, and I'm pumped to introduce Brad Hargreaves from Thesis Driven, who will be co-hosting with us with our new monthly episodes of this mashup between Thesis Driven and CRE Unplugged. Brad, thank you so much for agreeing to team up with us knuckleheads. Why don't you kick it off by sharing a bit about your background with our listeners?
Yeah, Nadine and Ryan, super excited to be here and to be joining you on this monthly episode going forward. So some of y'all might know me as the person behind the Thesis Driven real estate newsletter. Twice a week, we talk about the future of the built world. We talk about cities. We talk about where things are going from a financial standpoint, macro standpoint, tech standpoint. And we try to have a little fun with it while we're doing it. So bit on my background, I've been an entrepreneur for my entire career. I've built two companies really at the intersection of tech and the brick and mortar world. Most recently, I ran Common, which was the largest co-living operator in the United States. Sold it in 2022. We had about 7,000 apartment units under management. Prior to that, I built and scaled General Assembly, which was the largest tech and design trade school in the United States. All brick and mortar, expanded it to 20 cities, 6 countries around the world. So I've seen and gotten my face punched in a wide variety of real estate, food groups, and capital stacks and all sorts of fun things. So excited to join up and bring a little bit of the thesis-driven spirit to what y'all have been built and we all have done, which is super impressive with CRE Unplugged. So very, very honored and thrilled to be a part of the journey here.
Brad, thank you for that great, awesome background on yourself. I just learned a few things about you I didn't know, so I love that, or at least a little bit deeper. I personally, and I know I speak for Ryan, we're so excited to have you join us. If it's possible to be a fangirl of a CRE newsletter, consider me one of Thesis Driven.
Thank you.
Really, the tone and the content and everything and the way it's written is just, I think, so necessary for our industry. It's just a really great multifaceted approach from an educational viewpoint. And so I think it's great. And we're really excited to have you with us. So great.
Awesome. Thrilled to be here.
Yay. All right.
Brad, we're ready to have some fun. We're just going to do some really fun banter on all innovation and tech in real estate. I want to talk about one of your articles that you've written about upcoming real estate events. So we've got NMHC coming up, RedCon, the NYC Build Expo, ICSC in Vegas, Blueprint OpTech. Brad, give us a little taste of what you talked about in your article.
Yeah, so, I went through and just kind of took a look at all of the shows that are coming up this year for anyone who is interested in innovation in the built world. So we focused on the big shows, the kind of dedicated, the Blueprint, RedCon, CRETech, and then we looked at some of the big sector-specific shows. So things like NMHC OpTech, for instance, which is going to involve all the big multifamily groups. We looked at, something like Built Worlds, which is going to focus more on, the AEC world, architecture, engineering, construction. And, the big takeaway is that for whatever reason, this year all the shows are in Vegas. There was always there was a Vegas contingent. I mean, Blueprint's always in Vegas. But this year they're all in Vegas. Even RedCon, which has been in New York, is in Vegas. NMHC, I think NMHC OpTech is in Vegas. It was really disheartening. I don't know what y'all think about Vegas, but it was pretty disheartening to see that they are all of them. All the big real estate tech shows this year are in Vegas.
Yeah, I shared this sentiment with you guys last time we chatted. Yeah, first off, do we know why RedCon moved to Vegas? Does anybody have any inside scoop on this?
No,
I'm
I'm talking to James Sheeran, who runs RedCon at some point soon, and I will ask him.
Please do. He's great.
Why it's in Vegas? I don't know.
I'm guessing it has to do mostly about cost
Yeah.
and they possibly thought they would be able to host a nicer event out in Vegas versus the Marriott Marquis in New York.
Yeah,
Mm.
I know.
I bet you're right. I mean, they certainly have more of the event infrastructure in Vegas. I mean, that is
Yeah,
for sure. Like
that's correct.
they are set up to run it, and people who are certainly professional. I mean, I know the folks who run Blueprint as well, and
Yeah.
like, they know how to run the machine, and it's a lot easier, I think, to run the machine in Vegas. So I'm a little bummed they're all out there. So, I'm definitely going to be going to, you know, to Blueprint. I'll go to NMHC OpTech is always a great show.
Yeah.
Probably go to RetCon. I don't know. What are y'all going to this year?
Yeah, I'll definitely be at Blueprint. I don't think I'm going to make it to RecCon. If anybody would like to sponsor me to go to MIPIM this year, I'm accepting applications currently. I would love
Send
to.
Nadine to Cannes.
Please. Ooh, can we start a hashtag of that? Yeah, personally speaking, given my work is at the intersection of, I have one foot in the innovation and tech world and one foot still being a practicing attorney. I probably don't go to as many events as you guys do. So, and I tend to not really start attending. Well, if RetCon was in New York this week or this year, I would just for sure be at RetCon. I like RetCon a lot, but given that it's in Vegas, that's a bigger decision to make in a shorter amount of time for me. So my conferences will probably start in the summer and go through the end of the year. Right, what about you?
My goal is to definitely go to Blueprint. I've never been to NMHC OpTech. I've heard great things about that event, so I'll definitely be there. I was just hoping for more events to be on the East Coast. And Brad, maybe you have some thoughts on this. I feel like it's also easier to get owner operators who want to see the vendors that are out there for these events to be on the East Coast. So I'm very confused by why they all shifted out to the West.
100% agree. I mean, I think it's been one of the benefits of NMHC OpTech versus, say, a Blueprint is, one, because the NMHC Association, obviously, but NMHC OpTech, I love Blueprint. I say this as I go to Blueprint every year. I'm
Right.
going this year. NMHC OpTech is a more serious show. They have bigger operators. They have more serious operators. They have more decision makers there, and the programming is more serious. So like, while Blueprint will get more VCs and we'll get some of the big REITs and the chief innovation officers and people like that, NMHC OpTech, you're going to get the head of asset management for, the top 100 multifamily owners in the country. And for most vendors, for most tech startups, like that's a more interesting audience. Now, my recommendation would probably be to go to both, but I don't know how that's going to survive with NMHC OpTech going out west now.
Yeah.
So I think, we'll see. Now you have something like ICSC,
Yeah.
Conference of Shopping Centers, which has always
Right.
been the Vegas boondoggle,
Yep.
still obviously in Vegas. But that's kind of built its identity and its brand around being in Vegas. And a lot of people in the retail space, they make that their one trip to Vegas every year. But now you're looking at it and there's like 8 of these shows in Vegas, and nobody's taken 8 trips to Vegas in a year. You're a degenerate if you're
It's
taking 8 trips to
asinine.
Vegas
Yeah,
in a year.
exactly. It's asinine. And a factor that I wish was taken into consideration more, right? I am a personal advocate for like the distribution of these events, geographically across the United States, because we see there's a younger contingency coming up to want to enter into our market, right? There's an increased focus on reducing barriers for people to, be a part of the commercial real estate or innovation industry. And not everybody is going to have the means to constantly pay these fees, right? Or these travel expenses to go
Yes.
to these conferences. And so and something we're going to talk about later, today is that we're seeing a geographic distribution, right, in what hot spots of our industry are, right? Historically, it used to be the big main cities, but now we're seeing the rise of secondary markets, right, and exurbs, which we're going to talk about a little bit more. So why not have the backdrop of these awesome events, which I love going to, right, be in different areas around the country to, number one, kind of reduce that barrier for people to come, but also how cool is it to have these conferences, these incredible, 2 to 3 days of amazing thought leadership be like actually in a place that is going through a, upswing in growth or whatever that is right now, or that's actually a backdrop for what we're talking about, right? So I don't know.
Well, what I love about what NAIOP does is they always change the place of where their conferences are. So they do two conferences a
Yeah.
year, and they're always in different cities. Vancouver, New Orleans, Minneapolis, Florida. So you're getting a different feel of the different areas of the United States, and I really like that they do that. So maybe that's some food for thought for the other conferences that are out there. All right, I would really love for us to talk about the next subject.
It's your
It's
favorite.
really it's gotten me boiling to a point where I don't even know where to explain. New York City's congestion pricing. Brad and I are both facing this. So it started on January 5th, and the MTA announced on the 14th that 219,000 fewer cars entered Manhattan below 60th Street from Monday to Friday last week. Will this continue? We shall see. What are some of your takeaways here?
I honestly just want to kind of feel like I'm sort of like a moderator between the two of you right now, right? Like I'm currently filming from Canton, Ohio, and I have never lived in New York. So, okay, I want to be like, Brad, what are your thoughts on this topic? I do have thoughts on this topic, but let's start with the New Yorkers first.
Yeah, I mean, so I live in Chelsea, so I'm in the congestion zone. I'm in support of it. I think it's a good thing. I think the I will get to the point that I think the congestion where the congestion pricing opponents are right. I think they have a few good points. The thing I like about it is they're relatively. You look at the mix of people who come into Manhattan, who commute into Manhattan, overwhelmingly via subway, via bus, via mass transit. There's 3.6 million subway commuters every day. There's 1.4 million bus riders, even more commuter rail riders. There's only 500,000 cars that drive into Manhattan every day. And, a smaller percentage of that are actual commuters. A lot of people are through running. So going, say from Brooklyn to New Jersey, uh, just bypassing Manhattan. So I think that adding a charge to that is going to reduce the number of cars. Look at the allocation of space we give to cars. We give a tremendous amount of space over to cars versus other uses for the relatively small number of car drivers that come in. So I think, and you look at the results so far, they've been, I think, overwhelmingly positive. You're cutting transit times by 30 to 40% across the bridges and tunnels for $9. So there have been a lot of, it's been fun to read all the anecdotes of people who said, I hated this.
Yeah.
And then, wow, it's actually like, I'm going into the city super fast. I just saved half an hour. Yeah, half an hour of my time is worth $9.
Yeah.
So
I really would like to know who you're talking to. That's saying these things.
that a half an hour of their time is worth $9. This is
not that they are, that they're having reduced traffic, because that's not what I'm hearing from the people I've been talking to.
Well, the
Right.
data is definitely that there's reduced travel times. I mean, there's a lot of reports that have been put out already over the first week. Now, remains to be seen whether that stays. I think what we're going to see next are two effects. One are going to be, I think, a lot of people who previously didn't drive in because they're like, my time is worth more. I'd rather sit on the bus and work.
Right.
I know a lot of people like this who live in suburban New Jersey, took the bus because they're like, I can't spend an hour and 15 minutes sitting in traffic. Now, suddenly, if that's not an hour and 15 minutes, if it's, 35, 40 minutes, they're going to drive because they're like, I don't care about the $9. I do care about how much time it takes. So I do think there's going to be a little bit of a spring back. And then the other, which a couple of economists that I really respect have raised, is it should reduce garage fees, meaning if fewer cars are coming in,
Right.
it should equilibrate around the pricing of parking.
Right.
And then suddenly, does it actually wipe out most of the gains of the cost of the congestion pricing, it's like, well, now parking is $60 and the congestion price is $9,
Right.
or the congestion price was 0.
Right.
You add $9, does parking drop to like 52 or 53 and just kind of equilibrate out? So I think those are, the things that will be answered over the next couple months. But so far, it seems to be, you look all the data coming out of, reduced car volume, increased transit usage, reduced travel times, both, less so in Manhattan because so much of Manhattan is for hire vehicles.
Yeah.
And those don't have the same congestion cost, which is a debate. But the bridge and tunnel travel times have gone way down. Now, where I do think congestion pricing opponents have a great point is that the MTA is a massive wasteful organization.
Yeah.
And I just wish they could make the case that like this money is going to be put to good use.
Yes.
And will lead to better bus service, subway service. But
Yes.
I don't believe that.
Yeah.
For a moment. And I support congestion pricing, and I'm still like, this is going to go into a bottomless maw of waste and graft.
Yeah. I'm actually going to respond in inverse to what you just said. So the last point you had, right? I live in Boston, usually full time, and I think the congestion pricing is a great idea for a number of reasons. That being said, I immediately think, and I don't have a car. I don't drive in Boston. I rely upon the transit system most of the time and, Uber, right? And so, but I naturally, given that we're conversing about this, I'm like, I wonder if something like this would work in Boston to alleviate the traffic there. And immediately I'm like, yeah, but you need to have a pretty reliable public transit system that's going to be able to kind of be able to step in and withhold what could be an increase in its use. And the Boston transit system is not that. They are currently implementing necessary repairs that have been deferred over a number of local administrations. And so that number one right there is why I don't think it would work there. And given that it's just also such a wastefully run organization, I think we should have a different conversation on that, on how these organizations are operated. But anyway, what I'm hearing from the both of you and then Ryan, I want to hear more from you. So what you're coming at, Brad, is from the data side, right? And I am a proponent of congestion pricing in theory for all of the reasons that the current proponents state. But when you're coming at it from like that data perspective, you're coming at it from the perspective of the collective, right? What is the collective kind of benefit of it as well? And I think also what needs to be taken into consideration right now is what is the sentiment, right? Like change isn't going to come without certain pain and resistance in some areas. And so what is the public sentiment as well? And is that coming from more of like an individualistic perspective? Like what is my, right? Like, experience been with it as opposed to what are the collective benefits for society? So Ryan, like what are you guys experiencing? What are you hearing on this?
Well, if we're going to talk about data, let me share with you what's going on in the London congestion charge. In 2013, the average time spent in traffic was 99 hours. In the first month, they did have 25% reduction in vehicle numbers, right? But now in 2024, drivers spent an average of 101 hours in traffic in London, making it the most congested city in Europe. So it was a 2% increase compared to 2023 when they first implemented this congestion charge. So right there, you can make the case that this isn't going to work. And I've spoken to a bunch of people from New Jersey, New York. Like one person I know, she's a personal trainer, lives in New Jersey. She says that her traffic has not changed since coming into New York because she's got clients there. I've spoken to people who have businesses in New York. They're telling me that they're getting hit with a surcharge because of delivery being delivered from companies going into the congestion zone. I just feel that this was just a way for them to toll bridges that they didn't get to toll in the past. And I don't really see how it's going to improve their ultimate goal, which is sustainability.
Yeah.
I just think it's a money grab.
So what I would say to that, so I read the London statistics. So that was implemented in 2003, we're in 2025, so 22 years. Singapore, which I think was the first city to ever implement congestion pricing. I think that was in like 1975, right? And then they revamped the system in 1998. So that's 23 years, And so what I think is this is the first step in innovating or changing, the way in which the people move around, or so to speak, in New York City. And I think it's the first step in trying to curb the Americans' over-reliance on the automobile and its resultant impact, right, on gas emissions and climate change. That's not something we're going to be able to change overnight. And I think if we just kind of think about it from the same mindset, like when we think of like tech adoption, right? It depends on the use case, right? So if you're just trying to like reduce the time to draft a document, right? That's something that you can probably achieve pretty quickly. But if you're going for overall systemic change, right, that's going to have to happen in phases. There's going to have to be you just have to start somewhere. And I think people need to understand it's not going to be a silver bullet immediately, and it's not going to be perfect, right? And I think that's where effective communication can be really critical in kind of maybe trying to bring people along, psychologically from the sentiment standpoint. And so what I view that like implementing this in New York City is not going to be easy. Like, I think that's what people need to understand. Like, this is not going to be easy. We're going to have some immediate early wins. That's going to be great. But there's also going to be some trickle down negative effects. Like Ryan, you were saying, like the increased surcharges that people are experiencing from the delivery drivers. So this is feedback. This is data that now needs to be collected, I think, from the city of New York and processed and taken into consideration when there's future iterations on this. I think this needs to be approached like as a living, breathing thing that needs to be iterated on. And that, it might take 30, 40 years to completely be in a place where this works. But it's going to take time. So that's what I think.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I don't even look at it from a sustainability standpoint. Like maybe there's some win, but China's building a coal plant every month, and so I don't know what impact New York City congestion pricing, but and I don't necessarily know what the right price is. I mean, personally, I think $9, and reading what a lot of economists believe, $9 is too low. And
Really?
in fact, I think a lot of people who studied this question have been really surprised that it had the impact already that it had. I think there was a lot of fear among urbanists who study, economists who study urban issues, that $9 is not going to have any impact whatsoever. So I think a lot of people have actually been surprised looking at the data of like, wow, this actually did cut traffic a lot. This seems kind of like an unsustainable cut, and we're going to see traffic come back because $9, like,
yeah,
most of the recommendations economists came out with, and I think Ryan's eyes might pop out of his head here, are between like $25 and $90 as the actual appropriate congestion price.
Wow.
Given the density of Manhattan and the relative societal cost, not from a carbon emission standpoint, but from a traffic accident, space allocation, the actual societal cost of cars versus buses and subways. So once again, New York is kind of like an N of one here in the United States.
Yeah.
We don't have another city like New York.
Yeah.
With an order of magnitude, similar density, quality of mass transit. So you have her. A lot of people are. The mayor of Chicago raised his hand and said, like, we should do congestion pricing too. And it's like,
I saw that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, the CTA is like, the L is kind of a long way from,
Right.
the frequency, the reliability, and not saying New York has the greatest subway system in comparison to like a lot of places in East Asia and even Europe.
Mm-hmm.
But like you have to have that piece right. And I probably would not, even though I'm a supporter in New York, probably would not recommend it for a lot of other cities in the US.
Yeah. Yeah. What would you recommend for those other cities? And maybe, we could talk about that another time, but just kind of generally, like what, if they believe that they have congestion, the data supports it, but they're not the model of like with New York.
So this is tough because you have a lot of cities. I would say any city that is not New York, DC, Boston, Chicago, San Francisco,
Yeah.
maybe Seattle,
Okay.
they should just hold out and wait for autonomous vehicles.
Mm.
And that will get me skewered in most urbanist circles. But like, I truly do not believe those cities should be building out robust mass transit systems at this point.
Let's talk about that another time because, yeah, that's all.
And
Yeah.
then I think you have like
Yeah.
New York, where like you have to have mass transit. There is just no way the math works otherwise. If 90+% of people are not taking mass transit, there's just too many humans and not enough space.
Yeah.
And then you have this kind of like middle tier of cities, and there's maybe like 5 or 6 of them where it kind of could go either way. Like maybe you put a couple of billion into mass transit, and like if you have Italian levels of efficiency, which the Italians are not known for their efficiency, but from a mass transit standpoint, they blow us out of the water. So like if you're able to get that level of efficiency, like maybe that makes sense in a Boston or a Chicago or a DC.
Yeah.
And you can kind of have a hybrid model, but we're very far from that level of efficiency right now. We're terrible at building mass transit in this country.
Oh, it's awful. It's awful. Let's not go down that rabbit hole, right? Yeah. We should move on
For
to
another episode.
I like to make about the MTA. I was born and raised here, so I've had a lot of experience being in subways, and I have to say, this past month, I felt very unsafe being in the subways. Just the other day, I had someone just smoking a cigarette, reading a book right in front of me.
Yeah.
So if congestion pricing will result in making the subways safer and cleaner, then I'm all for it. But I don't really see that happening, as you said, Brad.
I mean, I think that's a problem with a lot of, frankly, urban governance in the US right now. It's like you can't see the results of policies. And it's like, okay, we're paying more. And there's no pot of gold at the other side of this of like, yeah, and I can see the services and benefits I'm getting from that. And I think that's a real problem. If like I'm an urbanist, I love cities. I have 3 kids in the middle of Manhattan, and like it's a real problem. It's a real problem. And like it's hard to be earnest and say like, yeah, I want better things and I'm willing to pay for those better things, when the willing to pay always comes through and the better things never do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, let's get into a lighter topic. Exurbs.
All right, let's do that.
According to census data, it's among the nation's fastest growing communities. Even though many are located, let's say 30, 40, even more than 60 miles away from the largest cities downtown, it is growing fast. Brad, I know you've wrote an article on this. What do you have to say?
Yeah, so I wrote a piece at the end of 2024 in December called Rise of the Walkable Exurban Downtown. And it really looks at kind of these two somewhat contradictory trends among how Americans want to live. There's one, and this ties in a lot to the topic. It's a lighter version of the topic we were just discussing, which is Americans want more space. There's been a massive move to the suburbs, but particularly the exurbs. People are looking for to get out of cities in a lot of ways. But on the flip side, people want the walkability that cities provide. They want to be able to walk down the street to the farmer's market, to the coffee shop, to the corner store or whatever. They don't want to be forced to get in their car and drive 15 minutes to the grocery store to get anywhere.
Yep.
And so that's those two facts are almost certainly true about Americans' preferences today, but they're somewhat contradictory in the vast majority of built environments. The one place they do intersect is this idea of the walkable exurban downtown. These are mostly kind of downtowns that were built in the 19th century, and of places like Westchester, Pennsylvania, Morristown, New Jersey. Give a handful of other examples in the article from different parts of the country where you have this nice walkable core, but you go 15 minutes outside, you have single family homes that have backyards. often good schools. And so if you look at the places that have had the actual fastest growth, they are these walkable exurban downtowns. And so the problem is we're not building any more of them. It's largely illegal to build a place like this that has that level of walkability, no setbacks, density, no parking or limited parking. And so we're not making any more of them. So the ones that do exist and are, 1 to 2.5 hours from a major metro are going to be prime targets for development over the next 10 years.
Brad, I have to tell you, I love that background because this is a topic I feel like I'm personally living right now, right? And I'm living the contradictory desires and issues right now. So I currently live in Boston. I rent a place there. I rented a place there for almost 7 years, which is when I moved to Boston. But before Boston, I lived in Cleveland. That's where I went to law school, and that's where I practiced law. And I lived in Cleveland for 15 years before moving out to Boston. So I've experienced both types of these. Like I've experienced like the smaller Midwestern city, and I've experienced, the East Coast city. And one of the things that I needed to get away from in Cleveland was there really wasn't any walkability. I think I moved in 2017, and yeah, there's a lot of growth in certain areas going on in Cleveland, but I was sick of having to get into my car everywhere to go anywhere. And that was one factor. That was just one of many factors. But anyway, so when I went to Boston, I fell in love with the walkability. It transformed my life. The sense of community that you get from that, I won't go down a rabbit hole on that right now, but it was life-changing for me. And I think it's something that a lot of people that are living what I'll call the non-traditional lifestyles, right, that aren't necessarily married with kids and have the organic sense of community that comes from that. You're seeing an increase of population that like they want that. And so and having that functioning transit system that I can rely on most of the time, right, is a game changer. But the cost of living is something that's creeping up, right? At least on me personally in Boston. I like the freedom that working for myself gives me, but living in a city like Boston, it may not always be feasible. So I am currently now asking myself, where might that next place be that I stay for at least a majority of the year? I think I tend to gravitate towards a digital nomad lifestyle. So now I'm in Canton, Ohio, which is my hometown, where I was born and raised and lived for early years of Nadine's life. Most of the shenanigans in my life took place here in Canton, Ohio. But I feel like this is a perfect canvas for a possible exurb. I'm 50 miles south of Cleveland, off of a major highway, 90 miles east of Youngstown, right? We're not too far from Detroit. We're 2 hours from Columbus. And its location made it so ideal back in the heyday of, the industrial days and manufacturing days, given its proximity, right? I mean, U.S. Steel was, had a, branch here in Canton, Ohio, headquartered in Pittsburgh, and et cetera. And so the cost of living is extraordinary here. I see CBRE signs everywhere of plots of land, prime plots of land for development. And I'm asking myself, could there be a next chapter in my life where I'm spending more time here? Right. And so I'm living it. I want to live somewhere that gives me, the benefits, the communal benefits and convenience benefits of like where I live in Boston, specifically in the South End of Boston. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the South End. Ryan, you know where I live, right? You've got the charming brownstones and the parks and everything, literally with skyscrapers right behind you in your backyard. It's fascinating. It's extraordinary. So so this is something I'm going to be watching and personally invested in very closely.
I love that. Well, and you've got the Football Hall of Fame right down the street, right?
Right. And they've just built a whole new village around it. Like they saw an opportunity to capitalize on this landmark that really, only enthusiasts know about, and have constructed an entire entertainment district around it. It's incredible. So yeah, Football Hall of Fame, the best week in July. Come to Canton, Ohio for induction week, folks. All right. I promise you, it's the funnest week you'll have in a long time. And beers are like $2.50 here. So.
Now that's a pitch.
Well, Nadine, you really fit the demographic here for
Yeah.
Exurb. Millennials and Gen Zers, they're the ones who are migrating over there. And there's also statistics saying that highly educated people are the ones who are moving to these exurbs. I do see some challenges, one being infrastructure. I think you need to build more roads and areas where people could be able to move from one place to another. Wetland loss, especially in the Houston area, to deal with stormwaters. I think that's definitely something to consider. And with school enrollment exploding in these areas, you need to build more schools. There's just a lot of factors there with that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think there's a lot to be considered. Absolutely. But I think housing costs being what they are, cost to rent in these major cities being what they are, the archaic permitting regulations that is preventing the necessary level of housing to be
Yeah.
constructed in order to at least try to make a dent in the cost of housing, right? In these major cities, these are all big factors that I think are going to continue to contribute to the rise of exurbs. Absolutely. Yeah. So, let's keep it, let's keep our eye out. Like I would love to see, um, you know, to live in an area that gives me both, truly. Like it would be my dream come true to find that right area that affords me both of those conflicting uh, things right now. So yeah,
I love that. I mean,
yeah,
we're talking about housing, but this is the case with corporate HQs too.
yeah. Oh yeah.
There's, it's a bit of a return to what you saw in the 70s and 80s, where in the 70s and 80s, a lot of corporate headquarters decamped to the suburbs.
Hmm.
Now, that had a very different built form than what we're seeing today. That was, the giant corporate campus on top of the massive garage, you know, way out in the middle of the woods, in many cases. I mean, you see a lot of these campuses driving through, New Jersey, Westchester County,
Yeah.
even Fairfield County, Connecticut, in the New York metro area. What you're seeing today is, them deciding, we're going to buy an old building in the center of this exurb and turn it into our new headquarters, and in a way that enables hybrid work and all this stuff. And I think that's good in some respects. I worry a little bit about it from just an agglomeration standpoint.
Mm.
Like, if your job is in New York City
Hmm.
and you live in Morristown, New Jersey, like that's fine. But if your job is in Morristown, New Jersey, and you live in the Poconos, or your job is in Morristown, New Jersey, you live in Morristown, you're not going to get a new job in like Ronkonkoma or, in Long Island or Fairfield County. I mean, that's a crazy commute.
Right.
So it sort of does, I don't think Canton is going to suffer from this. But like you look at a big metro area like in New York or even a Boston or certainly in LA has
Yeah.
suffered from this a lot. I have a buddy who was living and working in Santa Monica and got a job in Pasadena. It's like you want to commute from Santa Monica to Pasadena every day. Talk about congestion.
I
Can you
I was
imagine?
reading I was reading an article about this, and someone was saying that in Texas, excerpts are expanding so much that it's soon going to be Oklahoma.
Yeah. I mean, they've built Dallas halfway to Oklahoma,
Yeah,
and that's not an exaggeration.
yeah.
It's crazy how far up they've gone.
You meet somebody and they tell you they're like from outside of Dallas. You go, oh yeah, and it's like 75 miles, right? Like, yeah, if not more. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, hey, do you think, given where work is today, right? Obviously, there's been an increase in distributed work, and I don't want this to turn into a future of work debate, though we can if we want, right? But I personally think there's always going to be, I don't think distributed work is going away. I just think it becomes like to what extent it will become of percentage of how we work. Do you think that we might see a rise in, say, like regional HQs, right? Like, where there's not just one central headquarters anymore that serves as, maybe there is, but it's not as large or like the mothership vibe or culture that we've seen before. And if we might see like Amazon or like an Amazon HQ too, this type of model perhaps adopted it to the concept of headquarters.
Totally. I mean, I think you already see this to some extent. I mean, companies maintaining like a small office in New York City for their
Yeah,
executives, leadership team, and then you have a large office in Atlanta or somewhere in the Sun Belt for, the bulk of, employees, a couple of large departments, something like that, somewhere where people can live more affordably. I think you're already seeing that to some extent. There's still a lot of debate going on around like how sustainable is kind of truly remote work in the United States.
yeah,
Will we see more of that shifting to offshore, shifting to AI, et cetera? It's a much longer conversation, but there's
right,
still a lot of debate happening about that exact topic.
right, right. Food for thought.
Well, we're going to take a short break and welcome David Abrams to the show.
And we are back. Welcome, David Abrams, host of the Tenant Experience Network podcast and CEO of HILO, the sponsor of this podcast, as well as CRE Unplugged. Welcome, David. It's so good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here. Really glad we can spend a few minutes together.
Absolutely. And I think we're still safe to say Happy New Year. Is that still allowed?
I think it's okay. I think you got the month of January to continue to express gratitude and appreciation and all wishes for good things in the year to come.
Excellent.
I disagree. I think it should be at the halfway mark of January.
I'm not in any way surprised that's your response, Ryan. Ryan's over it. I knew it.
We're already disagreeing. We've been together about 30 seconds.
I know it's not a good start, but maybe we could gain some momentum.
Yeah, Ryan's had enough gratitude, David. He's over it.
Yay.
David, we're really excited to hear about your upcoming episode with the Tenant Experience Network. Can you share some insights?
Thank you. Yes, we're excited about. We just had an episode recorded yesterday with Julie Whalen, SVP of Global Head of Occupier Thought Leadership at CBRE. It was a blockbuster episode. I'm super stoked to bring it out and release it. It was a fantastic conversation. Just so many shared insights that I think our listeners are going to really love it. I just wanted to give you a few of the highlights and also get your reaction to anything that I'm going to share. So first of all, what I really loved about her was her background, and that she actually started out in HR. So a real focus on people. And then, brought that into her real estate practice. And so really, really understands that it's all about the people. And it's that people focus that is so important in real estate today. And I know I've been saying for a long time, and I think you both have echoed the same sentiment, that it's all, buildings are all about people. We've just been through a period of time where there weren't a lot of people in buildings. And so we know how important it is for the building ecosystem to have people there. And so, focusing on their needs and better understanding how we can improve their lives, that just really resonated with me.
Any sneak peeks? Any sneak peeks of some bombshells she may have dropped?
Well, a couple other things. I think she really focused in on this correlation between happy employees and overall tenant satisfaction. She's got the data to support it, which really plays into, obviously, our work in customer experience. And she certainly saw how important that is, or talked about how important that is to the market going forward. And that we need to look not only, at the building and look at the relationship between the building and their tenants, their customers, but we need to look at the role that buildings play in cities. And that really got me excited, because it's another thing that we've been thinking about for quite some time. This notion of shaping tomorrow's cities and really emphasizing the importance of community engagement and placemaking, and the role that buildings will play in all of that, which I think is huge. And we've always, thought that buildings were not silos; they're very much part of neighborhoods and communities and cities. And how do we, blur those boundaries and create, just a more open platform to, bring people together? So I think that was huge for us.
I'm very excited to hear this conversation. Very excited.
Me too. I also just love the some of the thoughts she shared just around, how you not only do you need to enhance functionality, but you can, and how you do that through new designs that spaces are now considering. And I think there's a huge opportunity in creating these synergies and shared environments that, again, are going to help to create a more dynamic environment. And as we like to say, make all of these places destinations of choice.
Mm-hmm.
So if I were to sum it up, I'd say the conversation was really all about the intersection of space, behavior, and innovation.
I can't wait to tune in. I
think it's
tune in.
going to be a lot of fun. And that episode should be out in a couple of weeks. And we'll definitely make sure you guys are tagged and we get that shared across our networks.
Fantastic.
We're really excited to hear it, David. Thank you.
Everybody that's listening, be sure to tune in. And David, we want to thank you. You've been such a fantastic supporter of this podcast since the beginning, being our inaugural sponsor and all of that. So we couldn't be here without you and the team at HILO. So thank you very much, David.
You're very welcome. And I look forward to a phenomenal 2025. And I look forward to having this little guest appearance segment on your future episodes as well. So we'll continue the conversation. Thanks so much.
Thank you, David.
All right, let's get to a fun segment that we have for our listeners. PropTech Company or heavy metal band. Brad Hargreaves here has a list of names, and Nadine and I will have to guess which one it is.
Oh, I can't wait. I've been waiting.
All right, so PropTech or Prog Metal. Let's go. So
Progmetal.
our first one, is it a PropTech Company or a Prog Metal Band? Orbital Witness.
That's a heavy metal band that likes to wear the Meta Ray-Ban glasses when they perform.
Incorrect. It is an automated solution for property diligence to make transactions more efficient and transparent for everyone. Orbitalwitness.com. All right. Next one, Sculptured.
Ryan, you go first.
Heavy metal band?
I say PropTech Company.
Ryan is correct. Sculptured is an American experimental and prog metal band mixing melodic and atonal segments. All right, number 3. All right, an easier one. Tool.
PropTech Company.
Band.
Yeah, Nadine. Tool.
Yeah.
Like the prog metal band.
That's what I thought. I was like,
Yeah,
cool. The band that I actually used to jam out to my Sony boombox, right? Back in around 1996-ish.
Yeah.
Right?
1996,
right
97, Lateralis.
Yeah, okay. I was like, Tool. I was thinking, I actually love Tool.
I think it might be the only prog metal band of all these I've actually heard of. All right. Next one, Decorous for Sage.
Can't take that one for seriously.
PropTech.
Okay, Decorous for Sage. Can I like
Decorous, Decorus.
Yeah.
For Sage, Sage.
You think this is a spelling bee, Nadine?
It helps me knowing how they're spelled out, Ryan.
Can you say it in a sentence?
I think Decorous for Sage is a prog metal band.
Ryan is correct. It's a property management software platform for landlords, leasing agents, and property managers.
Well, once you said stage, it was a good clue there.
But you said Stage?
Sage, Sage, which is
that's what I thought. Okay,
it's a software platform.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Vector with a K, Vektor.
PropTech.
Gonna say heavy metal.
Ryan is correct. Vector is an American technical thrash metal band from Tempe, Arizona. Their music is heavily themed around scientific, philosophical, futuristic, and astronomical topics. Huh.
Dude,
all right, now we have.
Think about that. Okay, I'll look them up myself.
Now it gets a little tricky. It's been easy so far. So now we have Agora with an H. So Aghora.
Oh, well, there's a heavy metal music venue in Cleveland called Agora, but it doesn't have an H. But my mind just immediately went to, I can't get away from it now. I'm just going to go with prog metal.
Yeah, I'm going to say heavy metal.
You are both correct. It's a prog metal band formed in 1995 by Santiago Dobles.
I'm talking about
it's
Ryan.
Agora with an H. Now we have, and now we get a little tricky. We have Agora without an H, so just Agora.
Oh, that's a PropTech Company.
Oh, you know them?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you do. Yeah, that is a tech company.
Yes, it is. You are both correct. All right. Got both the Agoras right. An all-in-one real estate investment management platform that accelerates fundraising, fosters investor relations, and optimizes efficiency.
Okay.
All right. Steelscape.
I'm gonna go PropTech.
Gonna go PropTech.
No. Steelscape is an American instrumental prog heavy metal band from Bremerton, Washington.
Okay.
That was a good one.
Okay, next one we have Boom with an exclamation mark. So Boom, exclamation mark. PropTech or Prog Metal Band?
The exclamation point really gets me here.
Is it all capitals? What's the title case of the word?
It is lowercase Boom. So Boom with an exclamation mark.
All
I'm gonna say
lowercase?
No, the B is capitalized, or at least that's how I
that's
wrote
a
it here.
game changer for me then. Okay. I'm gonna say PropTech Company just because I really do hope there's a product whose name that is. I think that would be really fun.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go PropTech Company.
Ryan?
Heavy metal.
Nadine is correct. Boom is a
Wow.
purpose-built platform for buying and selling land and development opportunities.
Wow.
Boom.online.
They just converted. They just literally got me to go click check on them now because of their name. I want to
There
go.
you go. Okay.
I'm
This
a
is,
marketing
We are
lawyer.
not paid, to be clear, by any of these companies. In fact, we're making fun of them. But if they get some customers off this, it's great. Fraxtor. That's Farxtor.
I'm going band. I'm going Prog Metal Band just because, again, I really hope there's a Prog Metal Band whose name this is.
I'm going to say PropTech.
Ryan is correct. Fraxtor is a blockchain-enabled real estate investment platform aimed at providing investors easy access to global real estate investments. Fraxtor.com. All right. Ivideon. Ivideon.
Ivideon.
I'm
I'm going to
Prog
have to say
Metal.
heavy metal.
Yeah, I'm going Prog Metal as well, Rye.
Ivideon is a cloud-based live video surveillance company focused on the real estate industry. Those last two were hard. Those last two were really hard.
I was going all psychological now. I was like, what game is he playing now? I was like,
Yeah,
what
I
game is
know.
going on?
It
Those
sounded
last
like a PropTech, but I really, yeah.
All right. We are almost done here. Osuria. That's Osuria.
PropTech.
Prog Metal.
Ryan is correct. Osuria is a digital leading knowledge hub and service platform for property management companies. Osuria.com.
This is incredible.
Periphery.
Heavy metal.
PropTech.
Ryan is correct again. Periphery is an American prog metal band formed in DC in 2005.
They got to make this into a game show. I'm
Their
doing too.
musical style has been described as prog metal, djent. I don't know what djent is, and progressive metalcore.
I was
All
wondering
right.
if maybe you had seen them perform during your graduate school days, Rye, since they're from DC.
No, didn't get a chance.
Maybe I was gonna say maybe you and Michael Broder were checking them out back in the day.
Yeah.
GW days. All right, who's next?
Okay. Two more. Azusa. AZUSA.
Is this a Greek goddess of PropTech?
There you go. There should be a Greek goddess of PropTech.
Gonna go PropTech.
Oh, I'm gonna go PropTech too.
No, I'm sorry. Azusa is a progressive extreme metal supergroup that originated in 2018.
Okay.
Last one. Voyager.
PropTech.
PropTech.
And heavy metal?
Yes, it is both. It is both. It is an
knew it,
Australian
yes.
prog pop metal band and Yardy's cloud-based asset management system.
Get out of here.
All right, you both did great. You know your Jira from your Gojira. That's Jira's a project management. Gojira's a prog metal band. Well, that was fun. There are a lot of prop tech companies that sound like prog metal bands, and vice versa.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. No, clearly it's very hard. It's very, very hard. Dude, what was your inspiration for this? Tell me that it was after a few drinks and the similar.
It was after a few drinks, and I think I was making a deck for Blueprint, and I was looking at my 50th prop tech company, and I was like, these all sound like prog metal bands. And so I found a list of prog metal bands, and I looked down, and I'm like, these all sound like prop tech companies. And so I made this quiz. I was like, you cannot tell the difference between the two.
Can you please get Martin Kelly and the people now of Blueprint to approve this for a late night skit? Please.
I would love to do that on stage.
Please, if you guys are listening, please. listen to the people, right? We want this, please.
Who was the host of Deal or No Deal? Because we should get him to host this game show.
Chuck Woolery, or is that the dating show?
I'm forgetting his name, but that he would be a great host for this.
Deal? I don't know. I can't. My knowledge of game show hosts is limited this morning.
Yeah. Not Regis Philbin.
No. I don't think it is Bob Barker. R.I.P. Love you, Bob. Chuck Woolery. Who else is there? Oh, I mean, there was Drew Carey, but I know he's not Deal or No Deal, but he's great. Cleveland. Give shout out to my boy Drew. Yeah. I would want to see Brad host it.
Because I've been watching Deal or No Deal Island. I'm getting back into the reality show craze. So,
did you see that they're coming back with a new Hollywood Squares?
No, I didn't.
Really?
Yeah, and it's got like modern day people from our pop culture. I'm actually psyched for this because I used to love Hollywood Squares. It's coming back, and it looks good.
Like on streaming or on like
on one. I think on one of the. I'll look it up. Yeah, like either Paramount streaming or on network television. I think actually it might be NBC. Now that I think about it, and I am excited for it. So Ryan, let's have watch nights.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Well, that's all the time we have today. Thank you, Brad, for joining us. This was really fun, and we can't wait to be doing more of these episodes with you.
Amazing. Likewise, excited for more to come.
Awesome. Yeah, and you haven't subscribed yet to Thesis Driven, do it. Seriously, you'll be doing yourself a favor. And Brad, question. You guys are doing incredible educational cohorts. When's the next one coming up, and what's the title of it?
Yeah, so we have we're launching a bunch of them this quarter. We have one focused on introduction to real estate development at the end of January. We have another on fundamentals of CRE, commercial real estate, for people who are new to the real estate industry. So a lot of it is just bringing that fundamental knowledge of people who aren't in the real estate industry or got a job at a PropTech company. They don't have a traditional real estate background, giving them that fundamental knowledge and understanding. So we have a bunch of different courses. Sign up for Thesis Driven, and you'll hear all about them.
Awesome. Yeah, if anybody's looking to learn more, I highly recommend look into Thesis Driven.
Thank you.
This was awesome. Thank you, Brad. We look forward to next month, pal.
Awesome. Me too.
Before you go, please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. And please visit our new website, CREUnplugged.com.
Awesome.
Thank you. See you next time.